Hmm. Well, it's been a while. It's been a long time. Let's see. Is everything coming up? Kick is up. YouTube looks to be up. All right. It's been a long time coming, guys. And boy, do we have a lot to cover. Let's see. I guess let's just hop right into it. No better way to get started. It's going to be a long episode, it seems. It may not be, but it could be. It truly could be. But yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's get everything right here. Okay, there we go. So, today is March 23rd, 2026. This is episode number 72 of Addressing the Issues. I was a little bit better at remembering these when I didn't take a week and a half break, but we're back now. Regular schedule. I did put out one highlight while I was gone. Probably should have done more, but I was trying to enjoy a little bit of time off. Got to do some pretty cool stuff, see some pretty cool things. So, yeah, it was good. It was a good break. We'll give, it a few more seconds before we hop right into the main stories. I guess I should have posted on X, but that doesn't matter. We'll be fine without it today. It'll give me a little bit of time to get back into the groove of things. But I guess you'll notice I'm wearing a black shirt. I haven't worn this before. I figured I'd wear black to what feels like the funeral of America. The American Empire as we know it. It's unfortunate. But it feels, everything right now has a very somber tone to it. So I figured, let's break it out. Let's be properly dressed if the American Empire is going to collapse in front of our very eyes. I think that's only the right thing to do. And I don't mean to disparage anyone whatsoever, but it does truly feel that way. While I was enjoying my time at, various beaches, various cities, I was just, watching the American Empire collapse through social media. A lot of people like me have been targeted recently. People that aren't fully on board with whatever this Iran war is. It's very similar to how Walter Cronkite was blamed for losing Vietnam. From my understanding, he had no authority over military decisions. He just called balls and strikes from his news studio. I guess this is my news studio, for what it's worth. But he was just calling balls and strikes from his news studio. And a number of generals, military officials, blamed him for losing the Vietnam War because he was against it. He saw things for the way they were, just kind of like how I do, just taking in all these data points and trying to understand them as to why this is going on. It's a lot easier to do so now, the era of the internet, the era of social media. But a lot of these things are, at least trying to be suppressed by the powers that be. But there's been a lot of, slip-ups from the government themselves. And when you notice these slip-ups, you go, why is this happening? And you see it time and time again. But they're right now going after podcasters, people of political commentary calling them out for being the ones that are going to lose the Iran war. We're just calling balls and strikes. We're calling it how we see it. We don't see this as beneficial to America whatsoever. This isn't America first. This isn't making America great again. I know that hurts a lot of people's hearts, but this isn't making America great, going to war for reasons basically unknown to us as Americans. We really don't know why. I mean, we've been told why. We've been told, Freudian slip style by many people why we've done this. There was no way that Iran could attack us. And it seems that they weren't going to until we decided to attack them first. And then they have rained down hell over U.S. bases, the Middle East in general. And by no way am I an advocate for Iran. No much more so than I am for Argentina or China or Israel. I believe in America. That's just what it is. This is the greatest country on earth, the only country I truly believe in. Yet people are being slandered for saying this is counterintuitive to the goals of America, claiming that they are going to lose the Iran war from the public perspective because they have opinions that are against it. We have nothing to do with the planning of this. We have nothing to do with the use of American firepower, military. We have nothing to do with it. We're just sitting here calling balls and strikes, looking at it for what it is. And it's not pro-America to waste all of our military armaments, especially when there are much more powerful adversaries around the world just waiting on us to slip up on something like this, waiting on us to slip up in the Middle East once again, another quagmire. And then they'll do what they want, because America is, by all means, weakening itself through this war, using armaments we can't manufacture in time, losing jets in other countries. I mean, this isn't going to help us as Americans in any way. You can see that at the fuel pump. You can see that in the coffins that have already come back from the Middle East already in this war. Like I said, one was too many. One American death in Iran was too many, and we're infinitely over that right now. But the military's, losing this themselves in a way, just through the outrageousness of what's going on with this war. You already have soldiers, U.S. soldiers, claiming to their superiors that they don't want to die for Israel. That is not the mentality that's going to win a war, but everybody knows it's true. Maybe we could psych ourselves up to believe a lie, believe that Iran is still on this verge of nuclear weapons, on this verge of striking New York City with a missile. But, there's even the tale of the Diego Garcia missile that we didn't even know their missiles could reach that far. We're still not sure. There's been reports that it wasn't Iran at all. I'm undecided on what I believe, but I also find it very surprising that the missiles just gain another 1,000-mile range as soon as the war breaks out. I find that unconvincing. But we've already lost the mental will of the Americans in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan. And this looks more and more to be a quagmire. We'll get to the reported 5-day ceasefire later in the show. I don't know how much truth that has to it, though. We'll get to that when we get to it. And there have been, as of right now, one member of the cabinet that's already resigned, Joe Kent. He was the director of national intelligence at the National Counterterrorism Center. I think it's only right that we go through this entire thing. I'm going to read the entire page of his resignation. It's a whole page, but I think it sums up what the issue is and why we don't have this rally around the flag phenomenon to support this war, alongside the worries of another Vietnam-like situation, another Iraq-like situation, another Afghanistan-like situation, and I do deem these as reasonable concerns for sure. Let's just jump into the Joe Kent resignation. It says, President Trump, after much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed Americans of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting U.S. drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now, that there was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw the U.S. into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further toward decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve in your administration to serve our great nation. Joseph Kent, Director, National Counterterrorism Center. So that's his resignation. It's rather telling, especially given the things that Marco Rubio has said, that they were going to do it. Israel was going to strike Iran anyway, so we just had to join in. Something along those lines. It's not word for word. However, that Freudian slip aligns exactly with what Joe Kent is saying, claiming he resigned because of. And there's already slanderous remarks about this. It was a no-win situation for him. Either he could resign in this conscientious objector style, or he could go on with this, go along with it, be overpowered in every discussion, and have this stain on his resume, on his conscience, for the rest of his life. So I fully agree with this decision. This is the winningest situation of two losing situations, surely. But it bodes the question, what does this mean for the future of the administration? There are rumors that people aren't exactly all on board with this. There's also the question of, will anybody follow suit? They didn't sign up to be the Iran war cabinet. They signed up to be the pro-peace cabinet. This is what the campaign was about. It was made very clear 3 times in campaigns that this was about pro-peace, no more forever wars. And we're finding ourselves tiptoeing into this forever war, slowly but surely. There's less and less off-ramps coming up. We're going faster and faster into it. We're attempting some off-ramp today. The truthfulness of this off-ramp is to be determined. But I think of other people in the administration that aligned with the pro-peace, no new wars, no forever wars agenda, namely Tulsi Gabbard. And I do think that if there's any more resignations of the such from the cabinet, it's going to be her. There's rumors that J.D. Vance hasn't been too on board with this either. I can't imagine a vice president resigning. Although, if he wants to keep his political career, he's talked a lot about, raising his family during this time and how this vice presidency has really stressed his family. I don't find it too out of the question that he may. There's rumors that actually Susie Wiles is one of the people who is against this Iran war thing. I find it very surprising. There's rumors. I don't know that she would resign, just given her age. I don't know how many more political jobs she's going to want. I think she'd rather just retire with all the benefits. But there are people that do want the best for this country and the administration. They're being overshadowed. They're being talked over. And I believe this is how Joe Kent felt when he tenured his resignation. And once he does so, he gets attacked. He gets attacked for remarrying by the president today. Kind of rich. I'm just going to lay that out there. It's kind of rich. He says that, he remarried fast after his wife died. It was 4.5 years later that he remarried. They didn't get divorced. Take that for what you will. She was killed in Iraq. And now he's being made fun of by the president for remarrying or criticized, whatever you want to call it. It's just rich. It's really, really rich. Because someone's had a few more wives than Joe Kent. So, I'll just throw that out there. And then you have to ask yourself, if these people do resign, who begins to fill these gaps? One common answer that this administration has deployed is Marco Rubio. He has 10 jobs right now. And he seems to be all on board now with these wars. He always kind of was in previous campaigns. It's just now being demonstrated that he is okay with going along with this. There's other options. You could pull people from Congress, Senate. I think namely Lindsey Graham may be one of the call-ups if these resignations continue to increase. We see more and more of them. I think it will be a call-up. How horrifying is that? The same man who said, the Marines captured Iwo Jima, we can capture Karg Island this week. Rather alarming. We're comparing what we want to do to one of the bloodiest battles in the Pacific theater during World War II. Kind of alarming. I'm not familiar. I don't think Lindsey Graham has ever served. I could be wrong. But I know he wasn't on Iwo Jima. I think he'd have a different opinion on that. I truly do. I've heard horror stories, books written about it, that it wasn't a good time. It's not summer camp. It's not going on a camping trip like so many neocons seem to believe war is. You don't go hang out in the woods and, make campfires, tell scary stories. I guess you do. It's just not glorified like a camping trip. Maybe call it a hunting trip, where you go hunt other human beings. I'll throw that out there, but it's not going to be fun. It's going to be a terrible, terrible time for everybody involved, especially, like I've said in a few episodes, this is a relatively flat island with Iran's mountains overlooking it. They're going to be shot down upon the entire time from mainland Iran. It's just going to be a huge kill zone. And they're already talking today about, let me see if I can find it, the deployment of the Army's 82nd Airborne Division to seize Karg Island. Somewhere between 3,000 to 2,500 troops being deployed to effectively what is a kill zone to seize this island. And the morale right now is, I don't want to die for Israel. That's not going to get you very far. The morale in Iwo Jima was, you attacked the United States, you attacked Hawaii. Now we're going to make you pay for it. Iran hasn't attacked the U.S. There isn't the rally around the flag, even to the levels of the military right now. And that's should be alarming to everybody that wants this to happen. It should be. I don't want to see an attack on the U.S. I don't want to see a false flag attack on the U.S. Neither are good. No attacks on the U.S. are good. But we haven't seen that. I'm not sure that we will. And it is ingrained in everybody since Iraq that we don't want to die for Israel. And now we're planning on sending 2,500, 3,000 troops to do just that. It's an alarming situation. Everyone should be alarmed, especially given the nature of what this battlefield will be. An island overlooked by continental Iran, who really they'll just kill people indiscriminately in this, which is horrifying. But this is where I believe 50% of their oil is exported from. So this would cripple their economy, cripple their country. This is an existential fight for them. And they're not going to give it up. They're just not. They'll use everything that they can, including our low morale against us. And it begs the question, is going to this war treasonous? How we got into it. We had Lindsey Graham flying back and forth, making false claims that the U.S. government would do this for Saudi Arabia, do that for Saudi Arabia, will provide defense, just attack with us. You have him talking in Israel presumptively about this war. You have the statements by Marco Rubio, which were that Israel was going to attack, so we just had to do it. Well, we didn't. It in no way would have affected the United States if they were shot by rockets. I'm sorry, it wouldn't. However, getting into it does affect the United States. It affects the lives of our service members. It affects the lives of anybody that uses energy. It affects everybody here when we jump into it. If we didn't jump into it, would it have ever affected us if we just pulled out of the Middle East, just came all the way back home? Would it have affected us? No. We'd probably still have $2 gas. But the fact that we decided, oh, they're going to do it, so let's go do it too, kind of like the anecdote I gave last week. Maybe it was the week before. But this idea that they're going to do it, so we've just got to go do it too. If your friend jumps off a bridge, do you follow him? Do you jump off the bridge too? This is the situation in which we're in. I would argue probably not. It's probably not in your best interest. We probably should have just came back home, said our friend just jumped off a bridge, but we didn't, so we just went back home. No harm, no foul, in my opinion. But is it treasonous to waste American lives, American resources for a war that has no benefit for us? I beg you to ask yourself that question. And if you think, maybe, I'll tell you what, the Democrats surely think so. I think this, come the midterms, with the loss of support for Republicans just due to them all turning back in the neocons, I think there's going to be no drive in the Republican Party to go vote. They're going to say, look what voting gets us. So either A, they're going to stay home, or B, they'll vote for the Democrats. I'm sure most independents will at this point. Pretty sure. And then what do you get? You lose the House. And probably the next 2 years are going to be spent impeaching these people. Possibly treason accusations within these. But trials nonetheless, or impeachments nonetheless. And we'll have this mandate from 2024 just absolutely destroyed because of this one foreign policy, this one decision. I guess it's a number of decisions in a way. But now you get to 2020, the end of this year. They take office in 2027. Everybody's getting impeached. It's just what's going to happen. We know the Democrats, this is what they do. They did it the first term. And they'll do it again. Because it's easy. It's going to be really easy, especially after starting this forever war. Finding no off-ramps. The explanations given for the war, to serve another country. No goals for this war, at least not in a standard sense. We don't really know what we're going over there for. Is it nuclear weapons? Is it ballistic missiles? Is it regime change? I thought if it was nuclear weapons, I heard Operation Midnight Hammer was a complete success and all of the nuclear weapons were destroyed. But now we're back there, and it's still about nuclear weapons, but now it's also ballistic missiles and regime change and overthrowing the government, and what is it about? And if you can't answer that, and if you can't answer how it's going to benefit Americans, especially given the destruction of the American economy over it, you're going to see impeachments, and you may see treason trials. And that's how 2026 to 2028 are going to go. I don't know that Republicans will even be able to flip it back in 2028. We'll probably have a Democrat president, and possibly both a Democrat House and a Democrat Senate. And then you're surely going to see people brought up to Congress to defend themselves, defend their actions, and likely treason trials, treason tribunals, whatever. I don't see how, this is going terribly. This is why I consider this the funeral of the American empire, because they are more and more becoming socialist, communist. The Democrat Party is. And the Republicans have no reaction whatsoever. We're not reacting to this shift towards socialism in the Democrat Party. We're just bringing out more neocons. We're allowing the neocons to continue to run in these elections. They should be retiring after this. They truly should. We should get American first conservatives, people who are actually against these wars, people that actually care about the price of gas, care about their constituents more than they care about a foreign country. But that might be too much to ask for Republicans, and that's why I think voting is going to be at an all-time low. These neocons are clinging on for dear life to control of the Republican Party. And we just continue to reelect them. And with no good reason. You can't do that in good conscience, especially the quagmires of Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Iran. How many more? Do we want to do it again? But the Republicans have to react. They need to come up with better ideas than go to war in Iran for Israel. We need a better idea. Maybe address the affordability, maybe address how much gas costs, how much energy costs, how much housing costs, so much. Yep. No. Go to Kari Island. Have fun. We won Iwo Jima. You can do it again. It's not realistic. It's not a realistic proposition for voters right now. They're worried of whether they can buy gas, have a home, have a good paying job. These are all actual concerns. We're not concerned about a country that may or may not be developing nuclear weapons in the Middle East and can't hit the U.S. with them even if they did have them. That's not America first. That's not what is going to make America great again. There it is. And when the socialists, Democrats, communists, whatever you want to call them, take over, they don't let the dissidents survive. It's going to have impacts on people like me. I'm calling it now. My freedom of speech is going to be censored. So will many of yours. You remember when the government, was controlling Facebook, Twitter, now X, through censorship, particularly dissension over the COVID vaccine. It's going to just get worse because it'll be at wartime. It'll be during wartime, and they'll have, you did this, and they'll be doing the same thing you're doing, except for they're protected by their radical communist friends. And we're not having any reaction to this. We're still sending neocons out there. At least the Democrats have, they have promises that they're going to make it more affordable, I guess, through universal basic income. Not a great idea in a capitalist country, but I guess that's why you call them communists. But we need new ideas. This is why I've said, I had a video months back look towards this new idea for the Republican Party. I cited Thomas Massie, unfortunately Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has resigned, then been attacked, kind of like Joe Kent. Also, local governments, there's the James Fishback brand of conservatism, which I believe is the future if we want to stand a chance against the universal basic income communists. Or we can just, send Lindsey Graham out there and say, let's go fight in Middle Eastern wars, because that's just what gets me going in the morning. I don't like my wife as much as I like wars in the Middle East. It's a losing proposition we're putting forward right now, and we're not willing to change it. This is what we've ran on since the 90s, war in the Middle East. Or I guess 2000s. You could argue 90s, it was building up. And there was war in the Middle East. Maybe the 80s. I don't even know when you want to start. This is just conservative foreign policy at this point, and domestic in a sense. Let's ramp up energy prices and go fight somebody who produces oil for the petrodollar. And speaking of this petrodollar, it could collapse through this war. It truly could. $200, $300 barrels of oil, as Iran hopes to create, would effectively collapse the petrodollar. There's no gold to back the currency anymore. In fact, I don't know that there's any gold in Fort Knox. There might be no gold in this country's reserves. Nothing to back this currency when the petrodollar fails. And, the little green pieces of paper in your wallet or the numbers on your bank account screen are going to mean absolutely nothing. It's going to matter about how much Chinese yuan you have. Kind of alarming, especially the debt we owe to them. It's a lot easier to pay that back in US dollars than it will be in yuan, won, whichever one it is. Yuan. We're not going to be able to pay it back, especially once China takes over the world economy. Trade is established in Chinese currency. Oil is traded in Chinese currency. They're making these moves right now before our very eyes. It should be alarming, because the petrodollar is the one thing that allows the dollar to hold value absolutely at all. There is no gold back, not silver, nothing of value except for oil. And if the Chinese come in and they say, hey, we'll establish peace, but you're going to trade in our money instead of the dollar. Well, we would have never seen inflation like this before in our lives. Truly. In our country's history. It's going to be like the Zimbabwe dollar. You'll walk into a restaurant and you'll have to pay when you order your food, because by the time you finish eating, what you would have paid is not enough anymore. You'll be sitting down at a coffee shop and your coffee will increase threefold while you're just sitting there drinking it. We'll get left broke, unable to rebuild these weapons that we waste. No defense at the end of this. There won't be. We're going to use it all. We're going to say, oh, we need to build it back. And then we find out, oh, our money is not worth anything. Oh, we don't have any money. And then we have no defense. And it lets China waltz over the world. Take trade deals from Europe, trade deals from Canada. They will once again infiltrate Central and South America beyond what we've seen before. And we have nothing to do about it. We can't defend ourselves. We can't pay somebody to defend us because our money is worthless. And this should alarm you. And it's not like at the end of this, America's depleted everything. Somehow we negotiate the ceasefire and we're over $40 trillion in debt. Israel's not going to bail us out. They're not. They're truly a fair weather friend. When things are good and it benefits them, they're around. If and when things go bad, they'll leave. That's the nature of our relationship. Now, whether they go to Russia, go to China, that's to be determined. But I see no reason they wouldn't stab us in the back when we're weak after this. Partner up with China, control the Middle East with China, or at least use their influence, which they will still have. That's how I see this all playing out. Israel's not going to stick around with this till the end. We are of use to them right now. We are essentially their puppet. Our government's occupied by AIPAC funding. And we're just, we're useful right now. We're a useful idiot. That's how we're being used in the Middle East. Notice there hasn't been any talks of IDF going to Karg Island. No, it's 82nd Airborne. It's the Marines. And you should take note of that. You should understand what that means. It means we're the ones that are going to take the brunt of this. Whether it would have ever affected us at all, we'll take the brunt. But I do think at the end of this, if the U.S. is weak, Israel turns their back. They treat us like the animals to be herded they call us. They call us animals to be herded. That is their opinion of everyone else. And we'll be herded up into a corner. They'll go with China. And that's that. We're done. We're broke and everybody's against us. Is that what we want? Probably not. And another thing people are talking about, oh, this is affecting Chinese economy. Their energy comes from Iran. It's affecting us much worse. China's not losing $100 million jets. They're not using missiles every single day that cost millions of dollars to produce, millions of dollars to get there. They're not using this. We are. And they're even negotiating with Iran ways to get oil to themselves. There's been talks that they'll pay 10% of the value to Iran, an extra 10%, which means it gets there. It's 10% more, but what is ours costing right now? Well, before this war, gas for me was about $2.30. Now I drive by and it says $4. That's a little bit more than 10% for us that we're paying. And there's also talks about just $2 million flat per ship to get out of the Strait of Hormuz, which I believe is a little more beneficial to China. However, either way, they're going to get their ships through. It's going to be ours that are blockaded, affecting us. They're not being affected as much as we are. We're paying much more cost. We're paying way more than 10%, $2 million a couple of times. We're paying way more than that for this to go on. I saw something that this is close to $100 billion already wasted in Iran. Already. We're not even a month in. Not even a month in, almost $100 billion down. How much more? I guarantee you it hasn't cost China that much. It probably hasn't tanked their stock market as much as it has ours. And what do we get at the end of this if we are successful? Even if we aren't, we still see this flooding of migrants into Europe, into the U.S. We'll have the withdrawal where people are hanging on the airplanes again, trying to hang on to the outside of an airplane to travel from the Middle East to the U.S. That's how desperate these people are going to be to get here. After all this is said and done, there's no energy, there's no water. They're going to be that desperate, and we'll take them in, especially when the Democrats take power. They'll let them all come. And then who does this affect? Well, it affects people who want a home, people who want a job. That's who it's going to affect when the Democrats let them all come over here. They'll probably let them vote too. And then we'll have Iranian politics here, Middle East politics in the U.S. Maybe we can install a monarch. I mean, come on. We'll have like the monarchy party versus the communists, and then the neocons. Does the U.S. win? No, that is the end of the American Empire. This is the beginning of the fall of Rome. And some people are saying, keep on going. This is going great. Well, we'll get on to this reported 5-day ceasefire on infrastructure that was talked about today by the president. He speaks that he is in negotiations with Iran for the last 2 days, that there will be a ceasefire on infrastructure for 5 days, that the U.S. will stop shooting infrastructure for 5 days in Iran, meaning desalination plants, power stations, that type of deal. Notice what isn't said. Everything. Complete ceasefire. That wasn't said. Notice that it does not include Israel, the other country attacking Iran. These are things that it doesn't include. And you think that for some reason the Iranians are going to take this ceasefire. They don't even, some of the officials there didn't even know that these negotiations took place. The ones that are in charge of negotiations, in charge of the government there, they said, we didn't hear about this. We weren't invited. Now, who were they negotiating with? Or were they even negotiating at all? And this is just a ruse to try and bump up the stock market. Try to get a little bit of intermediate relief in the stock market, which is collapsing. It is no longer above 50,000 points. There's the running joke on the show. But our stock market's collapsing because of this. And the people who we allegedly are going to have the ceasefire with don't know that they're going to have a ceasefire with us for 5 days, and it makes no sense. And why would they even do it right now? They're probably in the most powerful position they're going to be during this entire war. Why would they let the U.S. resupply? Especially given the Gerald R. Ford is heading back to port due to a laundry fire. I guess we didn't clean out the lint in the dryer and it caught on fire or something. I'm not sure. That's on top of all their sewage things, but it's going to port in Crete, meaning it's out. I believe we're sending in, I can't remember what ship it is. We're replacing it right now. I can probably find it here somewhere. We're replacing the Gerald R. Ford right now. So another ship is being sent in. I can't remember what other replacement it's going to be. Oh, here it is, maybe. Doesn't say which one. But it's going to be out of service for 14 months. Why would they stop now? Their leader is currently in Russia, meaning we realistically can't hit him. Otherwise, fearing a war between the U.S. and Russia. That would be alarming right now, because they talk about nuclear weapons every day, and they actually have them. So they're probably in the most powerful position they're going to be in for this duration right now. And they're just going to say, yeah, we'll stop shooting at you as long as you stop shooting at our infrastructure. You can still hit military targets. Your allies can still hit whatever they want. But we're going to stop for 5 days, so you'll stop doing infrastructure attacks. And you can get some new armaments in, and maybe we can make like 1,000 drones over that time. And it's all going to be good. They're not going to take this deal. You have to be crazy to think Iran would, even consider this. And they don't even know that it's going on right now. The president says, oh, yeah, I'm talking to him. Iran says, who are you talking to? You weren't talking to us. So we're being sold this right now. They have no reason to take it. I'm not hopeful that this 5-day ceasefire is going to take place. I'm not even sure that it's even real. Especially given that the people who would, I guess, benefit the least from it didn't even know it's occurred. So who are we talking with? I'll let you be the judge. I have no idea. You can guess. If anybody has any good guesses as to who they're talking to about this ceasefire, if it's not the leadership of Iran. It's just crazy. And there's also threats on U.S. soil right now that probably aren't being addressed by the mainstream media. But we have reportedly, swarms of drones flying over U.S. military bases here on U.S. soil, notably in Louisiana, which is a base holding the B-52 nuclear bomber fleet. Kind of alarming. They say we haven't shot any of them down. Apparently they're just flying over the base at night. It's just whatever. Really confusing as to why we're okay with this, especially in a war. Imagine one night that these, for some reason, get packed with explosives and start tearing up $100 million aircraft. We're going to have a big problem. We're going to be out billions of dollars over just a lack of response, terrible security. Is this something we're okay with? Probably not. It's going to cost us even more. It could even cost lives on U.S. territory. Something nobody should be okay with. But that's going on right now. Could those be Iran? Could those be China? Who knows? But what I do know is that it should be a concern, especially when we have this idea that we have the upper hand right now. It's a little more iffy. I mean, we do have the most powerful military in the world, but are we prepared for this asymmetric warfare? It seems like we're not. It seems like we have no answer to this drone thing. There's talks about Ukrainians coming into, or that they did go into the Middle East, and we're trying to give pointers on how the U.S. was dealing with these drone incursions. And it's claimed that they were an absolute horror of the effectiveness of the U.S. launching, I believe it was 8, they cited, 8 missiles valued at over $10 million a piece at just one $10,000 drone, $7,000 drone, depending on what source you look at. That's not a way to win asymmetric warfare. It's not. We need to be more effective. We need to be better with our money if we're going to come out ahead at all. We need to be better in so many facets. I think the battlefield is a little bit closer than you're led to believe watching the media. The same media that has, an American flag and an Israeli flag interwoven on the screen. Is this what our founding fathers envisioned? Probably not. And then we get to another concern. How close are we to nuclear war? We've been told Iran was weeks away and days away since 1996, something like this, 1998. They've been weeks away. It's been a couple more than weeks, but nonetheless, they're allegedly still building these nuclear weapons. But in another nuclear weapon note, Israel's Dimona nuclear facility has been pummeled these last couple of days, absolutely hammered by Iranian rockets, Iranian ballistic missiles. It's unknown how much damage has been done to the facility, according to IAEA reports, International Atomic Energy Association, something along those lines. They're not even sure how much damage has been caused. However, they have, in a way, confirmed that yes, Dimona is a nuclear facility with nuclear weapons. But then you have to ask yourself, if it is damaged, how damaged is it? Is their nuclear program destroyed? Well, I think we would have at least a better idea. There would be nuclear signatures, isotopes, in the surrounding already. It would be fairly easy to detect with modern technology. But if they're not, how close are they to being destroyed? Then you get to the question of, is this use it or lose it territory for Israel, in which they can either use these nuclear weapons or lose them? And I'm not too sure that they wouldn't choose to just use them as opposed to lose them, given all that they've done to acquire these, especially to the U.S., stealing basically the whole thing, from the uranium down to the way in which they function, ignite. But are they above using these if they think they're going to lose them? I fear not. I fear they would much rather turn Tehran to a piece of glass, and possibly multiple other countries throughout the region, than ever lose this elusive weapon that they won't allow anybody else to have. And then there's the whole other side. There is what Pakistan is claiming, which is completely irrational, but I think it's kind of, it just shows the nature of how volatile this area is. Pakistan claims that if they are attacked in any means, that they'll just start firing nuclear weapons into India. little irrational. I don't know how much India has to do with this. But once you get that going, India shoots its back, then we've just okayed nuclear weapons once again. They're good now. Everybody, go ahead, turn your neighbors the glass. And at that point, I'm sure we will see them deployed from Israel. We'll find out rather quickly if Iran actually is manufacturing them. We'll find out real quickly. But that's the state of everything that's going on right now. We've got some kind of incredulous 5-day ceasefire that, some people know about, some people don't. Leaders are being caught off guard that they've been in negotiations. And why would they do negotiations? Last time they negotiated, their entire leadership allegedly died to a surprise attack in Tehran. Why would they go back and negotiate in good faith now? Their leader is in Russia, protected, can send out decrees back home, and they'll listen. It is the Ayatollah. They are fighting for a martyred previous Ayatollah. So I don't see it as highly likely they're going to say, hey, you can just kill us and then we'll be like, resupply and we won't shoot at you, but you can shoot at some things during this time. It's not going to happen. I really don't see that it's going to happen. Because we've almost proven we're not good faith actors. We're not good faith negotiators. It's unfortunate, but it's true, and they likely see this of us. And then the whole nuclear angle, in which, the whole place is a hotbed, and for Israel, time is running down on whether they will be able to use these, or they will possibly explode on their own soil, which nobody wants a self-caused nuclear crisis. The U.S. has narrowly averted those in the past, and it led to a lot of people getting in trouble in the military. And I'm sure it'd be the same way there. It'd be the same way anywhere. So that's kind of where we are, possibly about to send troops in to Karg Island. We're allegedly having ceasefire talks that people don't know about that are involved. Kind of interesting. There's talks about ground war, talks about the Caucasus region getting involved. But yeah, that's basically most of what we've missed. I guess kind of focused around the most recent week or so, couple of days even. Let's see. So we'll move on. I think we're going to save the Sheridan Gorman story for tomorrow, because that is another probably 30 minutes to unpack. But we'll talk about some other things on the U.S. side. So today, well, if you're not familiar with before we get on to that, the Sheridan Gorman, it's basically a Blake and Riley 2.0 event. Illegal kills a university student. You'll probably see it all over the news today, but they've been going every day since I've been gone, and I haven't, and I figured I'd catch everybody up to all of this madness, in which is somehow affecting us from halfway around the world. But we're going to talk about some U.S. things. There is, I guess today began the use of ICE agents at U.S. airports to help out TSA due to no funding of Homeland Security staffing issues at airports because a number of TSA agents are quitting because they're not being paid. Others cannot afford gas to get to work, so they can't get there. They haven't been paid in about a month now. We're coming up on another deadline this weekend where they would receive a paycheck, which they likely won't. This has caused questions in Congress, proposals for bills, saying that if other agencies are not funded, there is a government shutdown of any stretch, partial, full, that Congress should not be paid. This is common sense. If anybody else in the U.S. didn't do their job, which is to allocate funding, would they be paid? If you showed up to work and refused to do your job or didn't even show up at all, in the case for some of our representatives, would you be paid? Should you be paid? I'd argue no, it's not going to happen. And you'd be fired. You'd surely be fired. But it's their job to allocate funding to Homeland Security, to parks, to everything, to allocate U.S. government funding. And when they don't do that, they're not doing their job. So they shouldn't be paid. This is a common sense bill. However, there's obviously the chance it doesn't get passed because it seems like Congress really doesn't care about constituents, you and me. They're more concerned about their money, their next campaign, they work, 150 days a year? They're more concerned about their next vacation. There's even talks about canceling the next recess, which should be done. They shouldn't get recess. They shouldn't get days off if people are not being paid still. It's unreasonable. But, like I said, you have ICE agents now working at security at the airport. There's no way they can do worse than regular TSA. I think TSA has something like an 80% rate that weapons and narcotics and things that aren't supposed to get through TSA get through. The only thing that they ever get is your toothpaste tube, your can of deodorant. That's all they ever get. And then you get embarrassed. They get your water bottle. That's about all they ever find. But from an internal study, apparently they let slip through about 80% of things that shouldn't be on planes. So I think, there's probably no way ICE could do any worse. It'd be kind of crazy to see that number fall to 50% over this time period, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you just be like, wow, that's kind of interesting? Because I think they could do it. They're probably more competent people, believe it or not. Some TSA I think is really just there to give you a good time, if you know what I mean. They're a little handsy. Had my share of reach arounds from TSA in my day. Oh, what a good time. You should be able to sue them for that. It's like sexual assault. It's weird. But this is their job. And they're not good at it. They're just doing the sexual assault part. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. They've never prevented anything. I feel it's just another overreach after 9/11 myself. That's me. Not a fan. But the interesting thing about these ICE agents being deployed is they're being told not to bring masks. This is how they had protected their identity. They are still in ICE uniform. However, they've been instructed not to wear masks. Instantly, liberals in Democrat cities have taken the opportunity to record the faces of these people. You can find this all over the internet in just, a couple hours today. This has only been happening 12 hours. Yet, their faces are being plastered all over the internet, putting them at danger, likely their families, likely their children, their wives. but they were told not to wear masks. Kind of worries me for their safety, truly. And this also takes them back from actually getting deportations done. We've learned over recent weeks that we're never going to get mass deportations. We're not. Anybody that tells you that this is still going on is lying to you. Especially today, they're now working security devices at airports. Maybe they'll stop 1 or 2 people that aren't supposed to be here. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll get a few more than that. I feel they'd be a lot more effective getting people selling drugs, murderers, sex offenders off our streets. I think they'd be more effective doing that. But they're busy today taking toothpaste out of your shaving kit, taking makeup out of your makeup bag, making sure your backpack has no water bottles in it. They're doing, what's important here in America. But yeah, we're not getting mass deportations. I thought we campaigned on that in peace, but what we get instead is mass amnesty and war in Iran. I feel like I'm winning. I really do. At least I want to feel that way. It's not happening. Let's see. And there's been the LaGuardia airplane crash into a fire truck. I don't think that has anything to do with the funding of Homeland Security. However, I do feel like it has something to do with these lockouts, which caused air traffic controllers to quit in the past, these government shutdowns where they weren't paid. They said, I can find a better job that pays more. And now we're facing the consequences still because Democrats, once again, won't fund the government, won't do their job. They shouldn't be funded themselves. Yeah, maybe that's, too broad of a thing, but I think it's true. Maybe I could include more details. I don't think we'll get back onto that tomorrow. It's a tragedy. It surely is. But I also feel it was preventable if we paid the professionals that do these jobs on time, every time. Because November, that shutdown wasn't paying anybody. Anybody. And now it's just TSA, Homeland Security, ICE that aren't being funded. How many of them are going to quit? And then who replaces them? Well, somebody less qualified, because now they have the experience to move on to a better job. It's absolutely insane. They're saying that the 27th, the end of this week, is going to be the day that it either gets better or it gets worse. Either they fund these people or everybody's just going to leave. So, I don't know. Let's see. I think that's all we're going to cover for today. This is one of my longest monologues I've ever had. I'll scroll through and see if there's anything related to this stuff that I missed. There's the Pakistan thing. There's the drone incursion over Barksdale Air Force Base. The Dimona nuclear program that's never been admitted before, but the IAEA has to go check on. Interesting stuff. Let's see, actually, before we move on, I have one more interesting story. Oh, oil's down today. Awesome. Maybe I can go fill up my car before it goes back up tomorrow. There's a story today. Lots of people had passed away over recent days. There's one rather interesting one. OnlyFans owner and APAC single greatest donor Leonid Radvinsky passed away today. I don't want to say good, but does this mean it all gets shut down now? Please? This dude, sexually exploits women and then funnels it all in the APAC. I don't know. Can you find me a worse person? Go. You've got probably 3 minutes left in this show. Find me a worse person. Because I'm not even biting that Xi Jinping or Putin are worse at this point. Kim Jong-un is probably a better person. Anyone. Name one. Good luck. I would maybe Ghislaine Maxwell, except for she has less victims. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Shut the whole thing down, especially given some conversations I overheard this weekend. Shut the whole thing down. Women are crazy. If that isn't the good news that you guys normally like to be left on, I had an interesting moment last night. I was hanging out on my balcony, the same one that I can't get the blinds to open up on today for some reason. I don't know what has happened since I left, but they no longer open. That's neat. But I was sitting out there, and I was just, working on today's show, kind of stressing out a little bit just due to personal things. Finances being one, family matters being another. I won't get into that too much. But, I was sitting there and I was thinking, God, prove to me this is all going to be okay. And at the same time, I was looking up into the night sky. I was like, it'd be really cool to see a shooting star. I just wanted to see one. I don't, make wishes to them. I pray when I see them. I see them as a sign of God, sign of something more powerful than me. About 30 minutes later, probably less time than that, I'm just looking out there, and one zooms right over my head. And it made me feel good, and it made me think about what I'd been wanting to do for a long time, which was share the gospel with you guys. I think it's very important, especially in these trying times. But he told me everything would be okay. But I also told him, I said, I will do my part on my show to spread your word. So today is going to be the first time that we do this. We're going to try and do it every single day. I'll have a verse picked out for us, and we'll just read through it, think about it, and then I'll send you guys off on your way. I don't know. I said it would change the outro. I think we'll leave the outro the same. But I will start reading you sections of the Bible. I'll read them. So I'm getting them, you're getting them. But I think it's quite the right thing to do during these trying times. Anytime, really. But we're going to start off in Genesis 1:1, the Old Testament. There's no better place to start off than the beginning of the Bible, the beginning of earth, the beginning of humans. But we'll read this little section. It says, this is Genesis 1:1. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that light was good, and he separated the light from darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. It all gives us reason, this book. It gives us reason. It makes better explanations than any scientist ever could. You always get the Big Bang started it. No, God started it. If you want to go with the Big Bang, here's my counter. Explain it while maintaining the law of conservation of mass. I think it'd be really hard. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed, yet it all, appeared randomly. God did that. God made us. We're children of God. That's what this is all about. It's the only way to explain why we are the way we are, why we're put on this earth. But I think that's something I want to start doing. I'd wanted to do it for a long time. Last night was just the moment it became clear to me it's what needed to be done. We need the Lord during these trying times. We need to look towards His Word. And hopefully, by His will, we'll get out of this. And if it is His will, maybe we won't. But I think that's the best place to start. It's the beginning. And it's the beginning. I mean, it helps you understand how everything is. God made this. It wasn't a Big Bang. You can't argue how the Big Bang makes sense alongside the law of conservation of matter. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't explain the 1 in a billion number chance. I mean, it's more than that. That we live, we breathe on this earth, that we have free will, that we can drink the water, eat the food, it gives us nourishment, and we grow, and I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It's God. But I figured I would use this platform, no matter how small, to promote His Word. Because if it just helps one person, that's all I could ever hope for. I hope it's more, but if it's just one person, that's enough for me. But I guess I hope you all enjoyed today's show. Really long one. I don't think I've ever talked this long without anybody else helping me out before, just straight. Which I hope you guys will drop a like, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Rumble, follow on Kick, turn those notifications on. We're going to be back around, I believe, most of this week, if not the whole week. No more vacations, guys. Sorry, Sam, no more vacations. It's alright. I like doing this. And I think that the new endings will give me more of a reason to do so. If you like this idea, drop a comment, say, yes, I fully support this. If not, tell me why. Tell me why I shouldn't be doing this, and I'll consider it. I will. Maybe. I'll consider it. But I think this is the right thing to do. Is there anything else? Make sure you guys are sharing these, especially now. I think that the more people that can hear the gospel, the more people that can hear the truth, we'll have better decision makers on this earth. We'll have light in a world full of darkness. And that's all I could ever hope for. Bringing a little bit of light to your day, pointing you to the path of the true light, just Jesus Christ our Lord. Yeah, that's all we got. Make sure y'all are dropping a like. If you want to help me out financially, you can click on the little dollar symbol on Rumble. There you'll be able to do a one-time donation monthly. You can also subscribe on there. Subscribe on Rumble. I think that's $5. You get neat little red highlighted messages. I'll respond to them. I need to start doing the super chat pitch at the beginning. But in an upcoming episode, if you want to do a super chat, I'll give you a little segment of my time at the end, and we'll discuss it. We'll think through it together. It'll be a good opportunity to interact, one, with the show, but also, B, maybe get some questions about what's going on answered. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I've made the decision we'll do the regular sign-off even after this, and then I'll see you tomorrow at 4:45. So, to all my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. Probably got home safe by now. To my people further west, I hope you finished up your workday strong and get home safe as well. Hope you all enjoyed. Most of all, thank you for watching. See you guys at 4:45 Eastern Time tomorrow. Thanks, guys.